Okay, why don't we get started?
Okay.
All right, well, first of all, good morning, everyone. And I'd like to just kind of say to you that what's happening here is really quite special. We are talking to a very large audience. However, select members of the audience from various regions of the country have been allowed to actually have a live interaction on the session. And what I'd like to have you all do is you're going to have questions as we move through the material. And it would be a great idea if you would make notes and hold those notes so that you can ask questions at the end of the session. And I'm going to really move into the presentation right now. I'd like to first of all say to you that we are very, very proud that only because of all of you, we are celebrating our 35th anniversary. And much of what you are going to see that we've developed in terms of concepts and techniques were developed really many, many years ago when it was actually illegal for a doctor or a medical professional to advertise or promote themselves. So these are proven concepts and that have been enhanced with some of the new phenomena. And I think you're going to begin to see what I mean by a new phenomenon shortly.
If you have questions, and we do have individuals who are not going to be able to speak during the session, they can just simply hear. If you want to have your questions, you can begin to send them to Greg at PUMCGW@PUMC.com. You don't need to wait until the end of the session, and that will also help him to begin to put the questions together, and if the same question is answered in multiple ways, he can kind of formulate it so we can get the answer. And we are also going to be providing you additional tips along with all the documented questions and answers that will be sent to the email that was the address provided in your login. So you will all have that after the session is over. Now we're going to actually begin the session. One of the things that we have found, and we've been doing surveying of our practices, and what has actually caused us to develop these webinars, is that we're finding that all practices are not negatively and equally being affected by the slowdown in the economy. And we've seen that there are 5 reasons that we are seeing for those who have not been affected negatively. And those 5 reasons are, the most important one is the precision in keeping and monitoring your key document data. Very important that you're constantly aware of what's happening in your practice and that you are looking at the data. You're not coming from your gut. You're seeing it in black and white. That your staff are trained, they're motivated, and they're ready to meet whatever challenges come up during this economy. That you're focusing on internal marketing programs. Those of you who have been clients of PUMC, you know that we always say that you market first from within. That you have some solid programs to continually communicate with your patients of record. Because those are the people that you spend a lot of time to get and you don't want to lose them. But that you do have some specific targeted external marketing programs. But at this time, you don't want to be using the shotgun approach. Just try it all. You also, if you have been monitoring your key data, then you know what is working. And those are the programs, especially your external programs, that you continue to use. And you won't be sidetracked by all the specials that are now coming to you from the magazines and the newspapers and the electronic media, because they're hurting too. And they're trying to give you the great deals. But remember, some of those deals may not be the best thing for you. And we are finding right now that there is an emphasis on facial procedures and services. Those seem to be selling more easily. And of course, that's probably because of the fillers. So you want to keep that in mind when you're providing specials. Either on your website or any other announcements of specials, you may want to begin to focus in on some of the facial procedures and services. What we're going to be covering today are the 4 tactics to overcome tough times. Now, these are not all the things that you can do, but these are things that we see are some of those hot buttons that will really get you moving. The first we're going to cover is generating inquiries, because it all comes down to if the people aren't calling you on the telephone, if they're not emailing, if they're not coming in, you can't, no matter how great you are.
Everyone inclined to use email. Yes, you're saving trees, and yes, you're saving postage. But what we're finding is that people are getting inundated. It's the new junk mail, and they have more and more accounts. So that delete button is very tempting. They may decide they want to read an email and save it, and myself included, and then decide I don't have time and I just delete it. So on the opposite side, with mailing letters now, you're finding that you're probably getting less and less type of bulk mail, junk mail, less letters because you're not getting your bills, you're doing online bill pay. So a letter really has, when I go to my mailbox, I'm looking for a letter. A letter is a way to personally communicate with an individual. And again, the word is personally communicate. We don't recommend you send out your flyers and your certainly if you're doing your e-newsletters and any announcements. Those are perfect for emails, unless you're going to do like a flyer and write a note on it to an individual you know, Sally, I know you were interested in the service, would love to see you, and put that in a letter. It looks also pretty politically correct with the wording on this. It's that if you're more senior, you probably tend to like a letter a lot better with the personal touch. So we're saying review.
Having a newsletter online is also a format. We don't recommend having newsletters monthly, but we have newsletters maybe quarterly, and then those are newsletters that are not just sales pitches, but they're giving information. They're causing individuals to become more familiar with your practice, having information about new staff. Those are the kinds of things that cause people to get involved, and we want to recommend that you do have newsletters online.
Well, I was just going to point out that we're seeing a trend where people are mixing up a newsletter with email, broadcast emails. Let's take a non-cosmetic example, that if you're getting your Borders and Book or your Starbucks, and those are coming to your email addresses, those are advertisements that are coming in. So we don't want to mix up that if you're programming 4 newsletters a year, make sure that they do have important news, a medical corner, something that the doctor is saying, and then real generous links back to your website so that individuals can learn more. So if you were to do a printed newsletter, you need to go back to thinking that this is more like a printed newsletter that does have information that people want. So balancing between how much of it is promotion and how much of it is newsworthy.
Okay. Any other questions out there before I have another question here that's popped up? Anyone want
I have a question.
Yes. How would you identify yourself?
Sylvia, practice in Michigan.
Okay.
Hey, Sylvia.
Hi. My question is in regards to the online newsletter. Are you suggesting that be something as a supplement to our existing website, and indicating that I think there was some mention about maybe doing a quarterly online newsletter, and what type of things should be included in that?
No, it's part of your website. It's a special section, and what we recommend is that you announce it through a broadcast email where you send out to all of your patients of record that you have email for, and let them know that a new newsletter and has a link directly to that particular page on your website. And then, and then what you would do is it would be attractively set up newsletter with the masthead. And the information that we recommend should be, if you're doing a new service, or if you have a patient that's had something done that it changed her life, just giving her story. If you have staff that have done anything, your staff has been pretty stable, so you don't have any new staff. But if you have a staff, like right now, I'm getting ready for a half marathon. So if you have a staff member that's been doing something exciting, or anything like that, people want to hear those kinds of things. So it's newsworthy, and it becomes kind of personal too. It can be personal. Then we recommend that you archive them. And what that means is they stay on your website, but they don't just pop up. But there's a place where a person can click, and then they can go and see the past newsletters if they so.
Right. Okay.
Go ahead, Lou.
The next thing is in web communication is the tracking. As we said, most important thing is the precision in your monitoring your data. Well, to know where people are coming from, you have to have good tracking information about your website. And that can be done through first knowing where people are going, what pages are the most popular pages, how long are they staying on those pages, and where do they go when they leave those pages? Do they go completely out? Do they go to your contact? Do they immediately communicate with you? This is what you need to know, because that also tells you, is your message working? Then you have the other format, and that's your SEO, Organic Position Report. And we'll go into this a lot more in April in our next session. But it is important for you to know where you are in on the search engines.